Lucrezia Millerini. The Metropolitan Police is tonight engulfed in another scandal over its handling of the murder of Stephen Lawrence. An independent inquiry found evidence an officer investigating his death was corrupt and said undercover police spied on the Lawrence family. It also found evidence about that covert operation was either lost or destroyed. Today, Stephen's family called for officers to be prosecuted. The Home Secretary said she was deeply shocked and ordered a judge-led inquiry into undercover policing. Our senior correspondent Ronke Phillips reports.
Evidence with which to smear the family of Stephen Lawrence.
Neville Lawrence watched live as the Home Secretary summed up what she called the disturbing findings of the review. But it was when Theresa May announced there would be a judge-led public inquiry into undercover policing that he was reduced to tears. Doreen Lawrence echoed the feelings of the entire family when she reacted to the revelations a police spy had infiltrated their campaign group.
I'm really disgusted about that. I'm really, really disgusted. And also it come from quite high up, so it's not just, lower rank officers, a senior officer who actually set out to do that against us as a family. And why? The question would be, why would you want to do that?
The Home Secretary said she also wanted to see questions answered. In language which was no nonsense, she said the review contained several other troubling revelations.
The totality of what the report shows is deeply troubling. The findings that I have outlined today are profoundly shocking. They will be of grave concern to everyone in the House and beyond.
One of the most damning revelations is against this man, former Detective Sergeant John Davidson, who worked on the original investigation. The report found reasonable grounds to suspect he acted corruptly. It also says the Metropolitan Police withheld information about his motives from the Macpherson public inquiry. And it criticises the use of undercover officers near the Lawrence family, saying it created the impression of there being a spy in the camp. Stephen Lawrence was stabbed to death at this bus stop in Eltham in southeast London. In January 2012, Gary Dobson and David Norris were found guilty of his murder. The Macpherson report in 1999 found that the original police investigation had been incompetent and accused Scotland Yard of institutional racism. Now the Ellison review has brought further damning details to light.
But it is now clear that there was venality, probably at the highest level of the Metropolitan Police, by which, against all rules, they refused to offer evidence, as they were required to do, to the full judicial inquiry of Sir William Macpherson.
After more than 2 decades, the racist killing of Stephen Lawrence is still in the headlines and having a serious impact on public confidence in the police.
So, Ronke, a damaging day for the Met, and as we saw at the top of your report, they're a very, very difficult day for the Lawrence family.
It's been an emotional wrangle for both Doreen and Neville. In fact, Doreen Lawrence broke down when she spoke in the House of Lords just a few moments ago, where she's a peer.
It's taken over nearly 21 years since Stephen's been killed, and the fact that we as a family had to go through all this, and still there's more to come out.
And as you saw in my report earlier, I was with Neville Lawrence as he watched the Home Secretary delivering the report, the review to the House, and he spoke about the fight for justice, a fight which he said is still not over.
We would have hoped that all this would have been dealt with at the first inquiry. We're talking about 21 years in April, and to go back all over everything again is going to be really difficult for me. Most of what I'm hearing today, me and my family have been saying this for years and years and years, and nobody believed us, and at one stage we were seen as the people who were stopping the investigation from completing. So it's going to be hard.
So you're not surprised by even learning that somebody had infiltrated your family campaign?
Not at all, because we at one stage thought it was one of the group, one of the close group in the people who were dealing was leaking information, and we couldn't understand why. Sometime when we did anything, it was public knowledge, but we didn't realize that, and didn't even start to even think that the Metropolitan Police would sink so low to do something like that to a family who was a bereaved family suffering the loss of their loved one.
And Mark Ellison has named DS John Davidson, but not others. Do you feel there were other officers?
Well, what Mark Ellison is saying, there is suspicion but no proof. And you shouldn't be suspecting a law-abiding officer who's part of a force which is protecting the community. You shouldn't have any suspicion.
If, I'm now thinking about the criminal investigation, finds that officers were corrupt and they're still alive, would you like to see them prosecuted even now?
Well, if you do something wrong, you should pay for it. It doesn't matter how long it takes. It took 19 years to prosecute these two. So if there's evidence to prove that they actually did anything wrong, they should be prosecuted. You know, and I don't see any reason why they shouldn't. Because they can't tell you that they were acting in the law. They were acting against the law. And officers who know the law should be punished even more severely than the ones who don't. People sometimes think that I'm brave and I've done a lot of things. I haven't done anything. To me, my son is the one who's done it. But he had to lose his life to do what he's doing. Because no matter where in the world you are, I've known this now, whenever there's anything to do with racism, the first word I hear is Stephen Lawrence.
Well, as you saw earlier, the Home Secretary has described today's finding as deeply troubling and ordered a judge-led inquiry into the work of undercover police. Under the spotlight now is Scotland Yard's Special Demonstrations Squad, who spied on the Lawrence family. But their involvement in high-profile cases doesn't end there, as Glenn Goodman explains.
Grosvenor Square, 1968. A demonstration against the Vietnam War turns violent.
The police are just about managing to hold it. There's several smoke bombs. They're through, the first are through now.
The Met needed a new strategy, and so the Special Demonstrations Squad, or SDS, was born. This new top-secret wing of the special branch would infiltrate groups who they thought were planning public disorder.
This squad appears to have been almost out of control in terms of not being subject to the usual rules of disclosure.
It wasn't long before the squad was breaching accepted codes of conduct. They started stealing the identities of dead children to give undercover officers fake backstories. The former SDS officer Bob Lambert took the identity of a deceased child called Robert Robinson and used the name in his undercover operations in the 80s. Like many other operatives, Bob Lambert has been accused of having sexual relationships with activists who he was spying upon. But Bob Lambert went even further. He fathered a child with a woman he was supposed to be investigating.
With hindsight, I can only say that I genuinely regret my actions. I apologise to the women affected.
The Stephen Lawrence investigation saw the SDS plumb new depths. Today's Ellison review concluded that a police spy was planted in the Lawrence family camp. The SDS was finally disbanded in 2008, but the allegations of misconduct continue to spill out. Politicians and police chiefs say the lack of oversight and transparency were to blame. And as ever, the conclusion of such inquiries is that lessons will be learned. Glenn Goodman, ITV News.
Well, Ronke is still with us. So, Ronke, what happens next?
Well, of course, we have this judge-led public inquiry. We don't know when that will start or what the parameters of that will be. Added to that, there's the criminal inquiry, which will look at any wrongdoing from a criminal point of view. And the Home Secretary has asked the director of the National Crime Agency to look at how to investigate the allegations, the overall allegations that came up in Mr. Ellison's review.
OK, Ronke, thank you. A Fathers for Justice campaigner who defaced a portrait